in your experience through the years, does it ever help to relate to the person that there's no compulsion in religion, or if that doesn't
Okay.
mesh well?
Okay, very good. So does it help to relate to the individual that don't worry, there's no compulsion in religion? I'll tell you. I'm going to answer it from the American experience, so you can see the logic there. In the American experience, we've never, ever, ever had to say that to anyone. I have a da'wah stall. You walked over to me, and you know full well, like the average American person has been put into his head, you're free, you're free, you're free, right? So there's absolutely no reason why an American would be walking the streets thinking, oh, those group of Muslims are going to try to force me to become Muslim. So actually we've never had to explain that. But, never say never, what if someone comes to you at the da'wah table and you're talking to them and everything, and then he mentions it to you? And it's not even ever happened to me or any of the du'at I know, because it's not such a common thing. But what if one day that person does come to you and say, but you know what, I like what you explained about Islam, but I just don't like the fact that you guys force people to become Muslim historically and all that. And if that is a concern, now I learned that it's a concern, which is obstacles, right? And now I'll say, well, actually, that is not true at all, because the verse right after Surah Ayat al-Kursi is, La ikraha fi din, and explain historically no one ever was offered the sword or Islam and so on and so forth. So you quickly clarify it. What are the odds you're going to have to do that? It's probably very, very low. Because if people force, and then why don't we hear in the news that, you know, in this village people went in and said, okay, become Muslim or we kill you. No one ever hears anything like that. So the misconception is actually historically, people think historically that was the case. And that was something the Orientalists purposely created to distort the image of Islam, saying, actually not the Orientalists. Historically, the story behind that is that, what do you call it? The Christians, this is quite quickly, it's interesting, but quickly we'll say it. When the Christians first encountered Islam, they had to explain who this man ﷺ was and who his followers were. If they say he's a genuine prophet, that destroys Christianity, right? So they have to explain to the Christians who this man is. So they said he's the Antichrist, and his followers are, you know, the army of the Antichrist. But the problem with that is that, number one, according to their teachings, the Antichrist has power, then it decreases. But the Muslim power was increasing. The second problem they had is that how can he be the Antichrist, but in his religion, you have to believe in Jesus or you're not from that religion. That was a problem for them. And then, and the third thing is that we said the Antichrist, his power decreases, but their power was increasing. So when the masses said, well then how come their power is increasing? They came up with this lie. Because they put your head down like this, they put the sword on it, they say now become Muslim or we kill you. So it was spread by the sword. That's where the idea comes from. But nobody believes that it's happening today, ever. Even the news that's full of lies, they never say, oh, this group of Muslims walked into a village and forced everyone to become Muslim. I don't remember that, right? So that's why. That's some of the history behind it. Wallahu ta'ala. Great question. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
This question about no compulsion, I find I also have represented the peace and cross.
Beautiful.
It's actually never asked by non-Muslims. It's asked by the Muslims.
Subhanallah.
And I always tell them, you remember this part of the ayah so well, there's no compulsion in religion, but why don't you also mention the rest of the ayah after the truth has been made clear from falsehood?
Ya salam.
Once you say that, it solves the problem.
Ya salam. MashaAllah. You keep giving us these gems throughout the day, huh? MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
After the conversion, wherever you are, do you follow up with these people?
Very good question. I mean, first of all, I don't even do da'wah anymore, okay? Just so we're clear. Like in the old days, I used to give da'wah. Now, I don't. I just walk around the world talking about how I used to give da'wah in the old days. Let me show you some techniques. And I mean, I'm pleased with the position because I speak and teach people who are far more energetic than me, and they go out and do some amazing, amazing things. Just so we're clear, I'm not trying to pretend that, oh, all the time I'm walking around touching people. Then touch them, they become Muslim. Yeah? So that's the first thing to clarify. The follow-up techniques, a number of things about follow-up. Number one, no one really has done any good research on follow-up, but it's the closest thing to research indicates that, remember that we said 99% of people leave Islam. When do they leave Islam? It's not actually within 2 months. It's typically, the most dangerous time period is that first week. And more dangerous than the first week, the first 48 hours, and more dangerous than that, the first 24 hours. So we learned then that if I intensify my follow-up and contact within the first 48 hours, then I get them through a very dangerous stage. And then for the rest of the time, this is the thing, people ask, excuse me, what are the follow-up, we need follow-up techniques. And every time someone asks about follow-up, they ask me with a frown. And I was like, okay, you taught us da'wah, what about follow-up? Let me tell you something. If you want a system for follow-up and you need techniques for follow-up, that's when you have 30 people who became Muslim and we need to have an Excel sheet and follow their progress. Let me tell you something. When one person becomes Muslim, just be a friend to them. Wallahi, that's all it is. There's no technique. Just be a human being and a friend. This guy becomes Muslim. His whole world's about to change. Maybe his mother doesn't like the idea. They kick him out of the house. For the first 24 hours, I take him out to lunch. I take him out to dinner. I give him words of encouragement. You know, we're here. If there's any problem, I'm with you. There's one guy, he's actually a semi-famous sports athlete. My friend gave him shahada in our area. And then we did follow up with him for just 1 week. And one day my friend's dropping him home. He's like, let me stop at this shop. I want to buy an alarm clock for Fajr. By himself he wanted. Nobody forced him because he felt like he's part of the community. He was introduced to the community. But let's be honest now. Our communities, sometimes they ruin follow-up for us. They ruin da'wah for us. You might bring a non-Muslim to your community, and these are true stories. An uncle will smack him because he did something wrong in salah. Or someone will hit him. Or someone will come and yell at him. Or he's wearing tattoos. Someone comes to, hey, it's haram. You need to remove it. But the guy he just became Muslim 2 minutes ago. You know, or maybe he still has a hole from his earring. Oh, what's this? What? Start ridiculing and going. So it's a community effort, yeah, and we're lacking that. So to make up for that, I'm going to be a friend to this person. And I'm going to introduce him to the community, and I might even protect him from the community in a way. And look, I've been dealing with, since 2 years ago, with the reverted Muslim organizations here. And now, should we be honest or should we keep it nice and just fake? Yeah? Look, I know some of you are aware of this, but reverted Muslims, what do they complain from? Let's be honest with each other.
They have to become police.
Yes, they have to deal with the Malay issue. And they're treated like second-rate Muslims because they're not Malays. This is a reality. We're being honest, right? So, and we never said Islam or the Ummah or a specific country is perfect. We recognize what's wrong, we want to fix it. Yeah? But the complaints, man, wallahi, let me tell you something. I'm not going to say the name of this da'iyah, but there's this da'iyah for close to 30 years. He's so energetic and he's so lively. I absolutely love this person. I met him in KL 2 years ago. And he does a lot of da'wah work. He said something to me last week that really, really hurt. He's been Muslim for close to 30 years. And he's so active and he brought hundreds to Islam. But he said something that hurt so much. He came from Christianity. And he said, sometimes I miss the brotherhood we had in church. That hurt so much. So painful. I don't know what to say to him. He doesn't get it in the masjid. He's not Malay, he's dark-skinned. We have problems, you know. So being just a human being and a good friend, you don't need technique. If you have 50 people, you need technique and Excel document and PowerPoints and WhatsApp and I don't know what you need. But for one person, just follow up with them for a week. Bas, barakallah fiqh. Introduce them to the community, encourage them, and then you can set them free. They'll be part of the community. They don't show up a day or two, call them, hey, what's going on? Bas, be a friend. Okay? Wallahu a'lam, jazakumullah khair. Yes? They have to?
They become
Okay. So what's your question about them then?
How do you help, say that if the husband or the wife does not guide them,
Mm.
and we are their friends,
Mm.
it's quite sensitive to.
Sensitive in what way? I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult.
Some of them are quite frank that
Did it for marriage?
yeah.
Okay, then I want to look. Actions are linked to goals, right? Top intention, right? So my goal is to become a professional football player. My activity will be watching football, playing football, talking about football, reading about football. And if I want to change this young man's actions, I can't nag him, stop playing football, read about business. No, I just simply readjust their goal. So someone tells you, you're worried about action, salah, siyam, practicing the religion, it's all action. But they told you it's linked to what their goal was. I became Muslim because my goal was marriage. So don't forget to talk about salah, sorry, you're not going to talk about salah now. Now you're going to readjust, let's refresh and renew your intention and make it for Allah. So all of my talk, whatever it is, it's going to be on that issue. It's not going to be really about me trying to convince them to come to the masjid. Their actions are linked to their goal. Their goal was just for marriage. They had no intention. I'm going to try to change your intention now and talk to you about, okay, well, what about, okay, so you did it for marriage only? You didn't do it for your creator. You believe there is a creator? Yes. Okay, do you, and do you recognize every good thing that you have in your life, your health, your eyesight, your intelligence, your loved ones, comes to you from him, your provision? Yes. So you do recognize he has a lot of favors upon you, yes. Then what's your relationship with him? Don't you want to build it? Don't you want to thank him and praise him and pray to him? Or you want to recognize there's a creator and just completely turn your back on him? Don't you want to build some You see where I'm going with this? So my talk is about linking you to Allah. If I create that as your new goal, don't worry about the activity then. The actions will come easily, inshallah. This is some guidelines in the time we have. Make sense? Yeah? Barakallahu feek. Wallahu a'lam. Sheikh.
All that is most to is that to explain to them about this structure and design of the mosque.
Okay.
Because this is because we are concentrated on tourists.
Okay. Very good.
Not local. So our job maybe just only to explain to them about the design.
Okay.
And to share.
Very good.
The beauty of our architecture.
Very good.
And we just only take opportunity to explain to them about this tawhid, I mean oneness of God. Which I think is very most important part in our job.
Right.
I mean, as we know that every religion believes in God, but we have to tell them our belief, our concept
Wonderful.
of God is oneness. That's all. So to break their mindset of the God, openly go one or three go but when it's right, we just only to tell them the concept of Islam and God is very much is unique and very much different. We can be okay instead of telling them right to join Islam and stuff.
So saying, can you, yeah, I want to see. You want to answer that, Sheikh? Go ahead, doctor. Go ahead.
No, I'm just passing it.
No, but you were nodding and I think you understood it better than me. Go ahead.
We can answer. Actually, there's a very widespread misconception among colleagues or volunteers. We divide this dawah work into a simple dichotomy. Our job is to convey, and conversion is Allah's business. And what you presented, and to me, what is the right way of dawah, whatever your situation. You can't just explain to somebody how good this butter chicken masala is, not invite him to eat it.
Good choice of meal, by the way.
You know? And so it's not a dichotomy, they must understand it is a trichotomy.
Yes, salam.
The trichotomy is convey, invite, convert.
Yes,
The
salam.
last part
Salam.
is outside our jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so
Yes.
the invitation must happen, but it doesn't mean in every time you meet somebody you invite. You make some judgments.
Yes.
You make some judgments.
Yes.
And then you see whether the heart is ready for it.
Yes.
And then you go for the push.
Gold.
Yeah. And actually I learned this whole idea of creating this sense of urgency from you, but this is the first time I'm seeing
mashallah, our
He
area.
spent 1.5 hours with me. I answered all his questions. And there was just half an hour left for Friday. I had to go early,
Mhm.
right? And I told him, are you ready? you know? And he said, can I come back to you on Monday? This was
Ooh.
Friday. He said, come back to you on Monday. So I asked him, right now you have been asking me all the questions. I just want to ask you 2 questions.
Hmm.
And I shared this with Dr. Ryan Green recently, and he said he's going to use it.
Mhm.
He's just tweaking what you said about urgency a little bit.
Yes.
I said these 2 questions are: one, as a person when you die, do you like to die upon the truth? He said yes. Now I want you to tell me what's going to happen to you 20 minutes from now. And his response was, I'll take the shahada.
Oh, mashallah, mashallah.
So
Brilliant.
I can
Brilliant.
relate to other cases of creating urgency, but I think our colleagues must understand that it's just not one way.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you invite it in every encounter.
Exactly.
This is the important thing. That I don't want to feel that if they're not invited, they've not done the job.
Mhm.
Some,
Use your
I'll
judgment.
just read one more case and end it.
Please do.
There was one place that I went to meet somebody, and the person was not in, so I was waiting for him. Then 2 people came later who also came to meet the same person. So we were there, we started talking. For about 1 hour, all the questions were related to Jesus in the Quran.
Hmm.
So somehow it's weird if we were talking to people, they end up that way. And for 1 month after that I gave them my card, I say, this is my number, if you have any questions, call me, if I don't know, I'll find out and give it to you. No call came, as you say, 10
Oh.
years nothing came. But about a month later, one day I was just reflecting in my place, these people who came through were they, and this lady had a big afro kind of hairstyle. And at that time I was being approached by a Christian who was trying to convert me as well.
Mhm.
So I said, could these be Christians trying to do da'wah also, or trying to find out how we do da'wah?
Hmm.
As I was pondering on this, these 2 people came in with a mustache to my place. And I see this lady all tied up and halfway covered. And I asked them, what can I do for you? I recognized them. And they said, we met you on Saturday and we took the shahada on Sunday.
Allahu Akbar.
What you said was impressed us a lot.
MashaAllah.
But I came to one simple conclusion. Obviously, I was the final person in this chain. Who had the opportunity to pluck the fruit.
Yes, yes.
But there was a whole series of brothers
Absolutely.
working down the line.
Absolutely.
Chipping away, the misconceptions.
Yes.
little by little. So, in the masjid context, what we may be doing is maybe laying the foundation,
Very much
maybe
so.
conveying the message.
Very
But
much so.
some are ready.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity, and recently I tried a technique which is slightly different from you. Just for novelty I tried.
Good, good.
And it worked.
Which was?
So the masjid, the person came, and I said, during the time that we are going to have, I'm just going to help you to discover the Muslim within you.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
He ended up taking the shahada.
Very
the next
nice.
day. So,
Actually, I use that with African Americans because some of them were originally Muslim. Yeah.
So we should not, get this thing about, we just convey the message and
Yes.
so on.
Barakallah feek.
We have a duty to invite, but doesn't mean in every situation.
Barakallah
Thank
feek.
you.
Allah yarda alayk. Jazakallah khair. You bring up so many great points, and you remind me of analogies that I give. One of them is you're not an information booth. Yeah. You just stand there, and people come and they have questions, and some du'at I've seen them. They say at the end, "Do you have any more questions?" Like that. My job is just to ask you questions. So you're not an information booth. Your job is not just to convey. And actually, when you get the PowerPoint, inshallah, look at slide 2 and 3. They will stress that point. They talk about the hidayah. Your job is directing them to the truth. Allah does open the hearts, and you create that link by saying, "Okay, now, make that step." Wonderful. The other thing is, as part of that technique, is to get people to think outside of the box. Think about things differently. What are you going to do 20 minutes from now? Where will you be? Get him to think outside the box. A friend of ours, actually one of the students, when I was giving the workshop in London, he used it in a very profound way. He told his, he wants to wake his colleague, non-Muslim colleague up. He wants to wake him up. So he tells him, "I'm dying." The guy's like, "Really?" He's like, "Yes, every day I'm dying." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What do you have? What's the illness? Is there anything I can do?" He said, "There's nothing you can do. And there's no illness, but every day I'm dying, and we're all dying. Every day you get older, right? Every day you're getting closer to your death. So basically, and the guy's like, and he asked him, how much longer do you have? He said, I don't know exactly when I'm going to die, and neither do you. You're in my exact same situation. And it got the guy to see his life in a different way. Every day I'm dying, and I don't know when it's going to finally end. He just woke this guy completely up. So where will you be 20 minutes from now? Thinking outside the box is a chapter in the other version that we talk about. So a lot of phenomenal techniques there, very good thoughts. I'm very glad you shared that. Okay. So now, I was sorry, I just wanted to check with the moderator here. First of all, I'm very confused because I was given this gift last night. It's the Malaysian watch that goes the other way. And like, Brother Elias came to pick me up today and I said, can you come in 10 minutes? He said, is it like 8:30? He said, it's already 8:38. And I'm looking at it this way, so it already causes me confusion. So I just want to put it out there that if you need to give everyone a 5-minute break, it's fine with me. If you want to continue, I'm not tired. So however you want to moderate this.
Well, does anyone need a 5-minute break first of all? Are you determined?
Yeah? Jazakallah khair. Thank you for coming. Barakallah feek. Thank you. Okay, so you had a question? Yes? Tfaddal. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Visiting the mosque? Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, let me try to do something on the spot. But basically, I'm going to skip the mosque description because I don't know what it looks like, right? And that part you've memorized, right? True? By the way, I'm not even clear what's happening here. Are you like regulated by any authority or group that tells you say this, don't say that? Or are you just on your own with nobody tells you you can stand at that? So I could actually go to the mosque right now and tell people about Islam. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh no?
We are a voluntary group.
Yes.
We are a voluntary group sanctioned by the mosque
Okay.
to do this
Okay.
work.
Do they give you a script, describe this about the mosque?
We develop it ourselves because we have to give some training to
Okay.
our volunteers.
So you don't have a written script anywhere? Okay. Now, look, feel free to disagree with what I'm saying, but I'm very, very, very pro training and very, very pro very high standards of training. What are high standards of training? It's really simple, and it's going to sound harsh, but if I have a company with 50 employees, and if I ask any 2 random employees, what does this company do? If they do not give me the same exact answer and description, I have failed at training. This is high level. Low level, it's okay. What does this ministry do? Oh, we do this, we do this. This guy tells you a different story. Everyone tells you a different, like it's like even 2 different companies, as if everybody should give the same answer. I used to work at companies in America, just corporate companies, right? And we would have like, in one company, I designed the script, and I actually designed it like a web page. So this is what you're going to say when you first call the individual. If they say yes, click here, and it takes you to the next page. No, click there. So honestly, if this is a group of well-trained volunteers, right now I would ask any random 3 to give me the tour of the mosque, and you would say the exact same thing. That is high quality, superb training. So the script should be written, even though, yeah, we've been doing this, and there are no problem. Why would there be a problem? But our standards are really, really high level of training. Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Okay, very good. So now, if we're going to have a script to guide people and they sound the same for the structure, then we know that's the real important one, is the deen, right? So I'm not even familiar like how long your time is, but let's say, what is it, a 5-minute talk of it on the mosque and 5-minute in Islam or something? So how do you segue after you describe the mosque and all that? How do you segue into the religion and the beliefs? How do you go into that?
As you go through the props,
Okay.
that is where, because you have calligraphy, you have mihrab, you
Oh, as you go through, like that.
Two hours
So,
less.
sandwich, thank you very much, okay.
Depends how many minutes.
Sorry,
you are
one
there.
second. Sorry, go ahead.
We are not interested.
Mhm.
We don't need to explain. We just want to see our work and that's all. We don't.
So it's already embedded in your description of the mosque. Okay. And
We
now,
are interested to listen to what the say because some of them are atheists.
oh,
We did also bring the atheists to interested in Islam also.
okay.
After asking them, they asked us.
Okay, very
Because
good.
my experience with one, my friend's experience with one Chinese doctor gitu, then doctor they tour the mosque and asking about, they explaining about the Quran, and we were explaining about the Quran, about what Islam in Islam is a way of life. We're telling them the way, and we ask them, we said everything we ask them, they say all natures. They ask us all natures. We ask them who give the soul. Said
Mhm.
the baby's body. The one we cannot answer.
Okay.
Then he said, you're a genius.
Oh, very good, mashallah.
So in a way that I think like me also is mine.
Okay.
Can
I mean,
just make one point?
yes,
You know,
please do.
It could be seen as a bit of a negative from a Malaysian perspective.
Mhm.
Maybe you probably know about it.
Mhm.
Because you know that there is a law that disallows non-Muslims from
Giving da'wah to Muslims?
Yeah,
Yes.
you know that.
Yes, we were talking about it yesterday.
Yeah. So that is one problem.
And we're talking about how to answer that. There's a good answer for it too.
And so many of us grew
No?
up in a generation, I think many years of generation where there's a lot of respect between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yes.
So if you ask anybody who lives in the street of non-Muslims in your community, how many of us are able to actually, we are friends, we think that the best way to relay the way of life for a Muslim is to be good, have good adab, to know your neighbors, to respect their neighbors. But to really talk about Islam is something that's very, very difficult for a lot of us.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm just being frank.
Okay,
I can't
okay.
walk my Chinese neighbor, the West is, temple right in front about, you think I'm nice and they're nice, and that's about, I probably am not a very vain person.
Mhm.
But when I come to the mosque, it is a lot of non-Muslims coming. So there's a lot of freedom and a lot of foreigners.
Okay.
A lot of freedom to talk about your religion, to
Okay.
talk about, to show your religion, and to talk. I'm just
Beautiful.
telling you the background.
Beautiful.
So a lot of us come with this baggage and fear when it comes to actually talking about Islam.
Okay.
I don't know, I may be wrong.
Okay.
That's
It-
experience.
In general, huh?
You're not giving the right perspective.
Maybe it's a portion. It doesn't have to be everyone, right? It could be a portion that.
It's just a perception.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying maybe no team is exactly the same. Maybe some people have those concerns. Maybe some people don't have them, right? Could be. One of the ways to perform under pressure, despite fear, despite awkwardness, embarrassment, one answer is it's really simple. It's called training. That's why athletes train all the time. And athletes train a lot, not just so they become good at it. No, they actually train a lot so they don't think about it. And that's why they tell you if you want to defeat someone, get them to think in sports. And for example, I'm not a very good golfer, and I'm going to a golfing. Our company has a golfing tournament, and the others are better golfers than me. I want to do better, and it's next week. There's not time for me to improve. So you know what they tell you to do in this case? See, this guy's a good golfer, not because he knows how to swing, because he does it like breathing. It's a lot of complex movements, and he does it like it's seamless. So he doesn't think about it. My way to defeat or to get a better score in the company golf tournament is basically to go up to the good golfers and get them to think. I'm going to ruin their nice swing, and I'm going to get them to think. So they tell you the technique. This is like nasty, right? Because competition is fine, but it shouldn't be where I want the other person to fail. I want to outdo you while you're doing good still. But here's the technique. You go to them and you say, so, mashallah, you're a good golfer and everything. Let me ask you something. Do you breathe in as you swing up and then out as you swing down? Or is it like you breathe out as you're swinging up and then when you're coming at this point, like where exactly would your elbow be in the so I'm doing something to get him to think. And then the minute he has to think about it, that's going to mess up his game. So what I'm trying to stress is that training, they tell you something very interesting. They tell you that you can, when you train people really well, they seem intelligent, even if they're not. Meaning, this is what they do in the military. They make everybody at the end of training look smart. They just know it so well that they seem like they're intelligent. They're not, they're just trained, right? So how do I eliminate embarrassment and fear and any kind of anxiety from my team? If it's da'wah, if it's anything, they will train, they will memorize that script, and then if it doesn't matter if there's a small person in front of them or a huge gorilla, they automatically go into training mode and they just do what they're trained to do. This is exactly how they trained Michael Phelps, if you know who that is. The guy, I think he has the most gold medals in human history, right? In the Olympics. And Michael Phelps, it's nothing but training. I mean, it's not just training. They train him so much that it becomes habit. So he's got a routine he never, ever changes. And he'll listen to the same music and visualize himself in the same way and do the same amount of laps. And so when it's time for the Olympics, and he had one race where his goggles weren't on properly and water started coming in and he couldn't see and he started to panic for a second, and then he went into training, just what I do all the time, and he won. It's training. So train, have that script ready, and then you'll do a session like this, and one by one people will come up and go through it. I haven't a clue what the script looks like, and I don't have anything special. Like always people, like when we go for street da'wah, they want to be my part. No, I want to see what you say. And then when they hear what I'm saying, it's oh, it's not really impressive. It's just the same stuff that you're saying. Except now that if I come up with an issue and the person says something, try to understand what the problem is, give a solution, and so on and so forth. So it's good that it's being developed and everyone.
We have a script, but we're just not happy with it.
You're not happy with it. Wonderful. Good. Then that's another thing we can work on until everyone's happy with it. You know. I mean, I can't tell you your job and everything, but I'm still willing to put it out there and the offer that if you even want me to look at it, I'm more than willing. Not that I know better than you. I think you know much better than me, but if you want me even to suggest or look at it, I'm willing also. Yeah.
I would like us to
Yes.
sum up. I have a lot of opportunity, musyahadat people.
Mhm.
A lot of opportunity.
Mhm.
Okay? But I just missed the portion of agency.
Mhm. Okay,
I
good.
just missed that.
And now you got it. And you're going to see huge differences now, inshallah. Huge, because like I said, just look at obstacles to change, psychology. Why don't people make changes even though they know they're good? I'll tell you something interesting. Sometimes there's a very nice technique of just letting people see what their options are ahead of them. There's a lady in America. She comes to I'm with Al Maghrib Institute, for those who don't know. We teach Islamic weekend classes around the country. And there's a lady, non-Muslim. She comes to every Al Maghrib course. Double weekend, single weekend, and she takes notes, she pays, and she takes the exam, and she's not Muslim. And she's just taking her time. That thing again with the urgency, just taking her time. So one of the mashayikh one time, they brought him to, she's like maybe taking 20 courses. Usul fiqh, tafsir. What is she waiting for? She's trying to get a long test drive, right? So the sheikh says, why don't you become Muslim? She said, I need time. He said, how much time do you need? She said, I don't know. He said, okay. She said, I'm not ready. And he said, how much time do you need to be ready? She said, I don't have an idea. He said, how will you know when you're ready? She said, I have no idea. He said, let me ask you something, sister. If you become Muslim, do you believe you'll become a better person? She said, absolutely. I'm sure of that. He said, do you think you'll be a happier person if you become Muslim? She said, absolutely. He said, then why would you delay something that you're sure would make you a better person and a happier person for a time period that you don't know and for a feeling and a sign that you don't know what it is? Why don't you become Muslim right now? And she became Muslim right then and there. And in a way, it's a style of urgency, but it's also a style of saying, look what's ahead of you. Remember that 8-month shahada I was telling you about? 8 months I'm working with this guy. And then one day we sat and spoke and spoke and spoke, and he's refusing to take the shahada. We covered so much material in the last couple of months. You know he's not God. The guy's like, yes, I know he's not God, but I know he is God. What? In the end, I left. One of my friends, one of my ex-partners and in Dawah, sat down with him and spoke to him. Then he called me and said, hey, Clinton became Muslim. So how'd you do it? He did something brilliant. He just put his options right in front of him, just like with the sheikh with this lady. He said, look, do you believe X, Y, and Z about Jesus? The guy said no. He said, you're not a Catholic. Based on what you just said, you're not Catholic anymore. You're disqualified. You kafart from Catholicism. Alright? So, you have 3 options in your life as we stand right now. 1, to go back to Catholicism. The guy said, no. He said, okay, then to just stay like this without a religion. The guy said, no. Nobody likes to be floating around. He said, the third thing, based on what you believe and what you've learned, is to become Muslim. These are the 3 options you have. The guy took his shahada. 8 months I'm talking to him, but the point is, he looked in, he made it so clear in front of him like that. Now, I just remember the point, doctor, that you mentioned, and that is, I just forgot it too. Just remembered it and just forgot it. Anyways, yeah, data points. So now, yeah, I've been working with him for 8 months, and this guy just said one thing and it worked, right? But you don't discount all the experiences, like that couple you said. You don't know what they went through in between that, and you said you were the last link or the last step in their process. So one of the problems, I want to bring this to your attention, one of the mistakes a lot of du'at make is that they don't see all the data points. They see one data point and think that's what works. This is a true story. A guy called me up. He said, I know what I'm going to do for da'wah for the rest of my life. I said, what? He said, I'm going to organize Islamic nasheed concerts, and that will bring non-Muslims to Islam. First thing I told him, I don't think nasheeds bring non-Muslims to Islam. And why would an Arabic nasheed bring an American guy to Islam? He doesn't even know what the nasheed is saying. He said, no, they do. I was recently at a nasheed concert, and a non-Muslim was brought up on stage and he took his shahada. So they do work. See what he did wrong? He takes one data point and he thinks that's it. Do you know this guy's history? Maybe he was reading the Quran for the last 3 months. Maybe his roommates are both Muslim, and they've been taking him to the masjid and talking to him and all that. And then they invited him to most likely someone invited him to the nasheed concert. Why? Do non-Muslims just come running to Islamic nasheed concerts? They don't know whoever this Rehan is, or they don't know that, right? It's like, so they don't, like, the fact that the non-Muslim was there indicates that something was done to bring him there, and you just see the end result and you didn't see all the other data points. So it's very important for du'at not to look at just one thing. Like one person would say, oh, give this pamphlet to everybody, because once I gave it to a person and immediately they become Muslim. But you don't know what happened before that. Oh, this is my best friend, Sheikh Walid Abdul Hakim. Habibi, my good friend. I used to live in Canada with. Now, look, so you understand what I'm saying? Many people want to make rules on just one thing that they've seen, but you don't know what happened before that. So beware of like making a rule out of just one incident or one thing. Okay? Yes?
We may have to wrap up this session already.
Okay.
But if there's anything that you want to share with us, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I want to again say apologies for being late. And number 2, you're doing great work. Go out there and enjoy it. Like, it's fun. It's not like, oh, it's just a lot of fun. Go out and speak to people and smile and tell them, and look, and I think the best thing I can close with is that when okay, let me put it this way. People always ask me, who's the hardest person to speak to? And not trying to be arrogant or anything, inshallah, I never see people that way. And I don't know the answer to that question, because I don't see that there's anyone who is hard to speak to. Slide 2 and 3, when you get it, slide 2 shows all your job is to show people what the truth is and invite them to it. And then Allah opens their heart. You can't open their hearts, right? Do we agree? So Allah is going to open their hearts. But you did your job. If you called and invited, you did your job. Is that how you worded it? Call and invite? Or what? Convey? Invite, convey. Wonderful. So if you do those, you've done your job. Whether they change or not, put on hijab or not, start to pray or not, you've done a fantastic job. Barakallahu feek. That's what Allah rewards you for. If it's gone beyond that, wonderful, good bonus for you, right? So you are going into every conversation, no matter who the person is, there's some things that you know for sure. Before you even know who you are, I know one thing, that if you're not Muslim, you're already at the lower position. Because the only ummah who has a perfect religion with no flaws, a book with no mistakes, and the only people who go to paradise, the people who say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This information makes me walk into any situation, any room in the world confident. And it makes me walk into any situation in the world as superior, meaning I'm the educator. I'm the educator. I know and you don't know. I'm the one who's in the position of guiding. So I never go into a confrontation like this, ever. Because we're not equal, and not on a human level, you understand me, right? So I'm here and you're here. That is your confidence. And the difference between walking into any situation in life, business, meeting, presentation, confident and not confident is a world of a difference. So walk into every scenario on this planet knowing the only one with the truth in that scenario is you. So I'm already in the higher position. I'm confident. I'm not worried. I'm not afraid. This is, not just a job. It's an obligation, but it's also fun and it's rewarding. So walk in happy, confident, an educator, and enjoy your time. It's one of the greatest blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Do your best with it, love it, enjoy it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you abundantly. Thank you so much for having me. Either we see you in Ramadan or some other time whenever Allah facilitates. Jazakum al khair. Sallallahu barak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.